was absolute ass.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, I was connected to the wrong microphone. Sorry about that.
That'll get you.
I was kind of surprised. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but to find how many people were thirsting over killing him. Like in his...
No, he's cute.
Oh, no, wait.
Like,
You're
you
telling
didn't
me
ask your partner first and immediately like, wait a minute, no, he's cute.
I can't.
Stop.
I can't, my
shit
guy.
about him.
Okay, so in the year of our Lord 2025, you've seen how Twitter is these days. You've seen the monster girlies online. And there is like
That's
a
me.
guy, you're seeing a guy who looks like the handsome emo K-pop singer, but with sharp teeth, who's also a dragon centaur. And you're like, wow, it sure is weird that women are thirsting for him. Dude, I'm almost thirsting for him and I'm straight. I'm looking at this guy like a beacon of sexuality. That man got aura.
You know what I'm seeing?
Holy shit.
He does. Actually, now that I'm pulling up a picture of him, he's like the male equivalent of like doll. Of like,
yes.
Oh, let's not get fucking crazy. Let's not get crazy.
He's doll. I'm looking
at a little emo boy.
He got the emo boy swagger. He got the skinny white boy swagger.
He does. He's wearing an MCR shirt.
Okay, but where are the real ones that thought he was cute before? You know what I mean? Before the trip.
That's my editor Cricket, who actually got mad when he was regular hot and was like, "Oh, he's ruined." Elbaf begins in one of the weirdest ways. Does everybody remember what the community was like when we were all trying to figure out, like, oh, is this a hallucination? Are these errors? Or is this on purpose?
Yes.
Like, that was such a wild vibe for a while of everyone insisting, like, no, this is like for sure errors on purpose because they're still hallucinating and everything. And it turns out it was just, it turns out it was just
absolutely insane. That was like theory piece, like, I mean, that was like the obviously we didn't know what was happening, but the community at that time, like everyone not knowing was just so funny to me. Everyone just like,
well, because they had drank canonically, right? They had drank absinthe or something.
Yes.
And so that's why people were like, oh, this is how you know that it's a dream because Luffy's weapon keeps changing.
And Nami's costume.
Yeah.
Inconsistencies or something.
Nami's costume, when we first saw her and she wakes up, I was like, this is the new hottest costume. Like, right here.
God.
I
fuzzy-breasted Nami, like 100% the hottest costume we'd had.
We're just doing Nami costumes. I love that one. That's third place to me. Second place is the dress on Zhao. Wanda's dress is too hot. But I have a bad
dress
opinion.
Dress on Zhao is second place for me now that I
have
saw
a bad opinion. And I think it's a bad opinion because no one's ever going to agree with me. Her Bavarian fit in Whole Cake is the hottest Nami outfit. I refuse to elaborate.
I actually cosplayed that when we did our Whole Cake
Really?
arc.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
I did. You did Sanji, right? And then I did that Nami. I love that.
Which is the hottest Sanji as well. Those are the two hottest outfits. The half cape.
That is the
so
hottest
good.
Sanji for sure.
I'm talking about the vibe when we first got into Elbaf because obviously coming out of
Egghead,
which having some distance from it. It really, because at the time when it was happening, I was like, this might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite.
It was our first arc catching up really to weekly at that point,
experiencing it week to week. So I thought maybe I'm a little too close to it. Maybe it's recency bias. But having some distance now, I'm like, no, it's still like what I still right now like it more than Elbaf.
So I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I think you guys caught up at a really good time. I think weekly reading, in my opinion, was never more fun than Egghead. As someone who's been weekly reading since Dressrosa, it is the best weekly reading. Mama, I think I talked over you. I want to go back to whatever you're going to say, but I want to say real quick, you have the exact same opinion I had, where when I finished Egghead was like, I think that's my favorite arc, but I don't know about recency bias. And then it was like 3 weeks ago or so, I was like, this is enough distance. I feel like I can just say it's my favorite arc and it doesn't feel like bias anymore. Like it just is my favorite.
When you were on with Alexander, you were like, you know what? No, I'm going to say it. I've confirmed it.
Like that is the arc for me. And it's weird. I feel like Elbaf is in the Thriller Bark position for me, where like I'm really enjoying it. And it's so hard for really enjoying to feel like enough after Elbaf. Or after Egghead.
I know. And even, I mean, honestly, I was just telling Josh when we're like setting up and everything, I was like, oh my gosh, like this latest chapter, like I'm back.
Right.
Like I need the lore, bro. Give me. I need it. Like that's what I love. We both love about One Piece. Yeah. Like I am so re-energized based off the last chapter. Like, bro, baby Loki.
No,
like
I think you just highlighted something that I didn't realize I've been feeling. So hear me out on this, right? I think part of why I'm struggling is the action itself did draw me in. Basically everyone who makes a YouTube channel where they talk about One Piece is going to feel like the fights aren't the main draw. But so much story is told through how fights happen that it ends up feeling like the main draw. And I think the reason I'm only recently feeling as drawn into Elbaf as I am is think about how much effort was put into building up the admirals. Think about how much effort was put into building up the emperors. So for all of the fights in Whole Cake Island, for all the fights in Wano, for all the fights in Egghead, we have so much weight put on the characters that are our opposition. We're drawn into the action. God's Knights were mentioned for the first time in the Reverie, which admittedly was like half a decade ago more, but it doesn't feel like a long time when figures like the emperors, the elders, and the admirals have been built up for fucking ever. And it's not until now that Emu is here that we can feel a bit of that draw of like, oh, the physical threat of the island is also something that's been built up, that there's a lot of weight behind, because Oda just can't introduce a last minute threat anymore and have it mean something, because all of the things we had in Egghead, Whole Cake, all of that, Dofi, those are all characters that have so much weight built up in the narrative.
It was like this big, like this lead up to this like really, really incredible payoff. And I felt also like we were kind of going in reverse order. Like we were going from the Gorosei, from the elders, kind of back down to the God Knights again. Yeah. And so it was kind of that direction, that sort of like, I guess like regression, I guess, that felt like less exciting to me. I mean, even like with Eam showing up, but like showing up through Gunko, like, you know, that's cool. And I do like that, but it was something about, they had never left that room. Like the elders had never left that fucking room. And then not one of them, but like all of them are on
pulling up.
Egghead. Like
pulling up.
The amount of like I felt crazy. It really did feel, because that was around like Oda's announcement of like it being the final saga, and like this is where shit's gonna get crazy. And you're like, oh, he's not lying. Like this is it. This felt like it.
At the time, there is the one scene, the shot of Jay Garcia on the boat is one of the scenes that made me rethink One Piece the most, where I had this sudden realization that One Piece, and I said this before on stream, One Piece isn't going to be the same for people who read it after. And why is that? Well, it's because through cultural osmosis, they are going to hear a simplified version of what the One Piece is. And there's this moment in Egghead where you see Jay Garcia on the boat and you get chills. An old man on a boat can give you chills. And it made me realize that whatever the One Piece is only going to feel important to us because of the buildup around it. And anyone who enters One Piece after isn't going to have that boon. They're not going to have that benefit of having had all the buildup. And anyone who reads One Piece after is going to have that part of it spoiled for them. And like, because if you say, oh, you don't get it, in this chapter of One Piece, there's an old man on a boat. No one's gonna be like, wow, yeah, your manga's so hype. But it did feel hype.
No, yeah, it was maybe one of the hypest moments of the whole series.
And maybe that's a lot of, I mean, I'm not shocked, but like a lot of what Oda does is by design. So it's like he knows that he has made a story that people are following along with, and they've been following along for what? Is it 25 years? Almost 26 years or something like that?
Something like that. I think 26 or 37 or something. I don't know.
You know, people are along for the ride, like you just said. Like it's not going to, I mean, of course we have series like now with like Naruto and these big shonen, you know, behemoths that, you know, you could look up the ending and it's no big deal and you might still enjoy it, but it's not the same as being in it. And like we're in it. So we are going to experience, like you said, like finding out what that One Piece is going to feel crazy for us versus like a kid just reading it now is like, oh yeah, I saw on Twitter what the ending was. It's kind of like whatever.
It's also that, but it's also being able to, because like I love doing this. It's like on such a bigger scale though. Like the idea, like just like following other people and listening to their theories. Like when we were watching Severance, like I was like, diving into everybody's theories. Even back when I watched like Westworld, like everybody's theories, like seeing them all kind of come true, the crumbs being laid, and now you're really starting to get the payoffs to a lot of theories are slowly being like actually cemented, confirmed. And you're getting to like see that happen.
Or flushed away.
We were talking about literally this most recent chapter that was officially translated today finally confirms what we've been assuming for decades, that the serpent soaked in blood is the red line. Mom, I just realized I never actually checked in to make sure what you said was what you were going to say. What was there something we missed, or?
Yeah, I was thinking. No, I just was getting lost in my own world, like I do sometimes, because when I hear people talk, it like ticks off things that I'm like, oh, maybe this. So I was just getting a little tinfoil piece in the background and theories. But I was also thinking about how much, when you mentioned Thriller Bark, I was thinking earlier that Thriller Bark reminds me of Elbaf in the way that when you're reading it at the time, you're like, yeah, it's good. It's not the thing, but it's good. And then over time, you realize that it layered so many things that were later on going to have such a major change of direction for the entire manga. And that it was doing it in a way that it was just weaving it in the story. And you were like, oh, later on, if you go back and read Thriller Bark, which I did recently again when I was looking for something, I was like, shit, this just laid everything out. We were just in the midst of not noticing, and it took a really abrupt turn from Enies Lobby into Thriller Bark, and I feel like Elbaf took a really abrupt turn from Egghead into Elbaf. So I think it's a really intentional thing that Oda does, where every once in a while he's like, I'm going to dogleg it, I'm going to give you some history, this is going to be a lot more mysticism and building up of ideas, and you're not going to know why this is such a huge player and that there are shadows and everything that are going to change the way that you see this manga again. And like 1138 alone, like we get ourselves a mural that he's like, oh, I'm just going to casually drop this shit out there. Why don't you have a little look at it? And then I'm not going to talk about it anymore. And I'm going to move on into directions you didn't think about. And then you're going to forget this is the arc in which you got that.
I don't know about you guys, but that mural alone, we got advised, cancel your stream today, just read the chapter. And I was like, you guys are being silly. There's no world where we're going to be able to talk about one chapter for 4 hours. But I eventually broke down. I kept insisting, no, we'll read the chapter, then we'll do Berserk like we were planning. Eventually, Lav and my mom it insisted enough that I caved, and I'm glad I did, because holy shit, Berserk would have been canceled anyways, because we spent 4 hours talking about just that panel. And then we made like 3 more 2-hour videos about just that panel.
No, that is the highlight. I mean, if we were to, I was going to maybe ask you what your favorite, like, chapter or part of Elbaf would be. Like, that's the highlight for me. Like, the significance of it all. I mean, of it all. I mean, you know, the wars and seeing it all literally drawn out in front of you. But, like, Frankie being the one to experience that, because, you know, chapters and stuff, people are like, why would Frankie be the one? Like, why wouldn't Robin be the one? And it's like, bro, like, ugh.
Yeah, I love that question about why would Frankie be the one as well. And also the funny thing is that right away they make Nami, like, I think it was chapter 1126 when they show Nami in the world's coolest costume. I don't care who you are, looking up in the Legoland, so that if we had known right away, we were seeing it from the perspective of her being small while the giants were all being big. But it was so amazing because I kept thinking about how the giants are these huge creatures who felt like they were more part of the world than other people because they take up more space, blah, blah, blah. Frankie is one of the characters that kind of gets left behind the most. And yet they were just really kind of like, oh yeah, this is just a silly little mural done by children. And they didn't give it any of the gravitas that we're all like, what the shit? And the fact that the giants treated it so casually made it so much freaking cooler. Because you were sitting there and being like, oh my God, spend 20 more hours. Move Frankie's ass. I need to see what's behind him.
So I brought up my drawing of the mural because what we did was every time we came up with a theory, I changed my drawing of it to show what our reading is. And my
amazing. We're looking at it right now. That's freaking awesome.
So my reading of why it was Frankie was twofold. One, he's big enough to cover what's in the center of the tree. And two, his Elbaf outfit was drawn with horns, and most people's weren't, which allows for a silhouette to be a hint. I am fully of the belief that the Sun Tree Eve was feeding off of this is going to sound crazy, a world of belief and spirit in the One Piece world that can be interpreted as gods or demons, and that the tree sucked out the concepts of devils, the devils of concepts, and turned them into the original devil fruit. I am 100% convinced of this. I think there was demons or devils behind Frankie, and him being this big silhouette with horns is meant to be an allusion towards that. And I will say, since I've said that and sounded crazy, there has been more and more evidence towards the idea of devils and demons being a thing.
I mean, like, even before then, I mean, the devil fruit concept alone, like, that is that you're spot on. Like, I that is such a cool, I mean, like, purposely blocking that portion. He's the biggest one. I mean, other than maybe Jinbei, but that's amazing. I love that. And again, like, going back to why it's Frankie and not Robin. It's like, okay, well, he does build, and like, what did I say? I said, oh yeah, like, why wouldn't he be Robin? I'm like, well, Robin, like,
you said Robin,
what did I say?
You said Frankie constructs things and Robin deconstructs things.
Yes.
That's another case for your ship to your ship.
There's also the fact that scene is technically in two places at once, and Robin is the other part of that reading the Harley text, because the Harley text isn't physically happening there. Frankie doesn't have the context, just as Robin doesn't have the visual context. So Robin was part of that scene, because that scene was words from the owl library, whatever, can't remember its name. And the visuals were in the cave with the big mural. So, like, realistically, she was in the scene, just not the part of the scene that was visible.
I have a new weird theory, if you want to put that thing up, that I just came to when we were reading. I think it was today's chapter when we saw Luffy's, when somebody asked, has Luffy always had that X on his arm?
No, that was way back. That was at the beginning of Elbaf when we first come back to Robin's crew.
I now have a theory that the number of X's on the dragon, which I said is the guardian of the underworld, because I believe that it's following Japanese Shintoism, and that you have it sucked in the souls and turned them into devil fruits. So I think that represents, the X's represent each Joy Boy. And then I think there's supposed to be a certain number of Joy Boy before we come back to the reckoning again. And that is why there are the X's on him, the certain number of X's.
Crazy.
And if you look at the original picture, the original image, you can see the planets up in the sky, and then the center one, which has the same markings on it as this dinosaur dragon. It has a line, and then it has the X's around. So I think that to me says that Luffy's people would have come from there.
I don't want to sign on to this. However, I will say evidence to your point is that Luffy has a giant X on his chest that has become emblematic of him in the post-time skip era.
Precisely.
So I don't think there's nothing. I'm not going to sign on, but I'm also not going to deride you.
More about it
I'll deride your crazier theories. This one I won't deride.
Not crazy tinfoil hat time.
It's okay. I said a tree's full of demons. We're both allowed to be crazy.
No, but I like that I was going to ask you to repeat it, Drawk, actually, because I think it's also interesting, and I want to hear your take on what we saw recently with Eam and that book that Eam is like pulling, more like the Gunko Eam, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pulling stuff.
I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about that book because I feel like that book plays into what my theory is, but I genuinely don't fucking know how. I've been thinking about this fucking book. Clearly Emu has like devil powers. I mean, one of the things that I like the idea that things like Cerberus are true devils, that they are pulled from the tree, that they are pulled from this underworld that One Piece has. In my opinion, and Mama Drawk came to this opinion first, and then I clung on, and I don't know if she's still there because we shift around a lot. But the idea that the underworld was basically the font of myth and belief and spirit of humanity, and that's the world was a flame that was being tapped into by the treasure tree and the sun tree, that their roots were connecting that they were tapping into that as a power source, and the mother flame was mining the roots of these trees. This is all from looking into the mural, tons of other stuff. It sounds insane. That's how the mother flame was harvested, was by mining the roots of the trees, which were drinking up the spirit of the world, and that the Sun Tree Eve can access these devils. And I think by cutting down the Sun Tree and making his base be on top of it, Emu becomes the king of devils, becomes the one who has command over these powers, the one who can dole them out. And I think that's why he has the ability to take over those who are his vessel. I think that's why he has the ability to put devils in people's swords, like with the true Cerberus that Shamrock has. And I think the book probably is based around that power. I also, more and more, I'm coming around to the theory, because if anyone's going to have a secret mythical Zoan other than Luffy now, it's probably Blackbeard because of how much of a foil he is for Luffy. And I'm coming around more and more to the idea that this era, Emu is the sea god or the sea devil, because I think one of the themes of One Piece is that devils / demons and gods are the same from a different perspective. We see this all throughout Elbaf. There's like early on, Rodo calling himself the sun god and Zoro saying he looks more like a demon. Like comparing demons and gods has been a constant theme of One Piece lately. So the idea is that the sea god of the Harley text is the sea devil, and that Blackbeard's mythical Zoan could be a fruit representation of what Emu is, be a fruit of the sea devil, which is why all of his moves mention the ocean. Like Black Whirlpool is apparently a more accurate translation of his Black Vortex attack, and why he has the ability to remove people's devil fruit powers because the sea devil can do so. This is all insane, but there's tinfoil talk for a reason. We're crazy here.
No, I'm literally, as you're saying it, like I'm trying to pull up like references. I'm trying to look at the panels. I'm getting my tinfoil hat on too right now.
Put your tinfoil hat on deeply. I was saying today when I was reading it again, I was pulled back because I think that Odin is going to come back from Wano. Because remember we were in Wano and they showed that we had one of the weapons there tucked in between the islands down deep inside of, I think Pluton. Instead of seawater, it was fresh water.
Yeah.
Well, in the original tale, Odin in lore...
just a note, we're conflating spelling here. Sometimes Odin she is referring to Yamato calling himself Odin, sometimes referring to the Norse god Odin. Odin.
I see.
I'm referring to them both right now.
Yeah.
Because in the Norse god Odin goes underneath Yggdrasil into the underworld, which I think we're seeing that exists in the mural, and that we see people with halos going underneath. And I think that's part of the whole spirits go down and then they are used by the tree of life. And that's why they have to be fed to the underworld. And I think that we're about to see, because remember when Oda said that we will know when we are in the last stages because we will meet a character with an eye patch? I think that's going to be Odin.
I think you're crazy, but I do understand why.
Just wait, because in the original lore, Odin goes under the tree of Yggdrasil, and in order at the well of wisdom in Mimir, in order to get the wisdom of the world to save the world, he has to give something up, and he gives his eye as a sacrifice for wisdom. And so I think that having a character named Odin being in the world of the Norse gods that we're in right now, and the fact that the SBS, or sorry, not the SBS, that the panels in the beginning of the stories right now are focusing on Odin's story, I think they're going to meet up and he's going to go underneath, come up are using the underworld, and in order to find out information is going to lose an eye, and the person that we're going to see in an eye patch is going to be Odin.
I still think you're crazy on this one, but I understand why you're saying it. If it happens, I will apologize for calling you crazy and say you were right.
I'm 100%
that's me with Meghan all the time.
The more I get into the Norse mythology and look at like who Odin was, the taking over of somebody else's dream, which is what Odin is doing right now, the following the quest, the needing to see it to the end of the quest was actually going under, and it would prove my idea that I think both of the trees were linked together through the root system in an underworld, and that Odin is going to find that and try to get to where our Straw Hats are, and in order to gain the information needed to save the world, we'll have to sacrifice an eye. This makes sense. I'm telling you.
It's the Norse. I mean, it's all about Norse. I mean, even in the latest chapter with the eight-legged horse.
Well, and the thing is, he's constantly mixing multiple mythologies together. Shinto's usually an overlay that's present in everything, but then we have, I mean, obviously Wano is 99% Shinto, but then Egghead, we mix Hebrew Abrahamic mythology with Shinto, and now clearly we're mixing Norse mythology with Shinto and Elbaf. Like, it does feel like every arc we're mixing Shinto belief and its general
kind of the
overlay.
Genius of it.
Oh yeah.
Because you can never decipher like.
Well, it's like you could probably I'm probably gonna guess
or
what's
deduce because he's pulling from so many different things. You know what I mean? Like that's why I think it's so interesting. But like I do wonder because obviously, when we talk about them being devils, and I think this is kind of what you're saying, or maybe a version of it. I do like the idea that like this tree, right? It is like pulling. It's like. We are like the stories that we tell, right? You know what I mean? Like, and so it's kind of like pulling from that, and it just like I'm making that connection because of the book, and even like the idea that like the government and the Void Century is literally like almost like rewriting like history.
No,
right?
not
like literally, literally rewriting history, and just the idea that like they're able to like. It's also like if this is like their big thing, like this is the thing that they do, I think it also like plays so well against like Gear 5, and like because it almost feels like what do we call Gear 5 Luffy? We compare
Luffy Tunes,
but we compare it to the Mask a lot too.
Yes,
like, we compare it to like Jim Carrey's The Mask.
Oh yeah.
But that feels like very like Mask-esque too, like having like summoning this like book and being able to like anything you write in this book, because we're all like the meta layer of like this being a story as well, and like the meta layer of like joy and everything that like Luffy and Gear 5 stands for. Like it's just like the perfect like foe to and also like how stories and like rewriting history and things can also like be. When it's in the hands of the wrong people, like it can be a really terrible, devastating thing. You know what I mean? Like a weapon, like literally, like words are like a weapon of this magnitude. I think is like really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my mind goes. I think when I see Gunko Ian pull out this book.
That's one of the things that makes me cling to the idea that the underworld is a world of both spirit and belief and stories. Excuse me just a sec. In One Piece, there's a lot of anti-colonial themes. You see it in Wano, you see it in Skypiea. Like it comes up fairly often. And I think like when you're talking about a domineering force having taken over, there's such a powerful anti-colonial symbolism in the idea of your beliefs, your stories, your culture, your values being turned against you. And I think Oda likes to show us smaller versions of a bigger theme a lot. And the Sleep Tids, as the fears of Elbaf being turned against them, their stories, their mythology being turned into a demon weapon to destroy their culture, feels very reflective of what that would be. The idea of something coming and taking the myths of this world. One of the ideas that I had was that the trees, because I think basically every manga at some point, every shonen manga seems to at some point want to pull in on the themes of Princess Kaguya. And that kind of, along with the Lunarians, led me to believe that the trees as a method of harnessing this world of belief would have been originally planted by folks from the moon. Probably at this point, not Lunarians. We've gone crazy. Again, bunch of theories about this, but I have this idea of like, what would be a better symbolism of colonialism than this outside force coming and harnessing and taking ownership over the beliefs and stories of the world.
Yeah. More than that, they force them to burn it down. They know they're not going to get their children down, but they force them to burn their knowledge that they collected from
I was talking about historically, but yes, now, yes.
And they replace it with their own knowledge with this book that Gunko has.
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh. Interesting. It doesn't cease to amaze me. I mean, I've been looking at the mural and I'm flipping back and forth too, and I just think it works so well for so many different reasons. Like
God, yeah.
Because we've heard also and been told also that like devil fruits are the manifestation of desire, right? Like that's been like 100% like confirmed. So we've already had and that's why like on a like zooming out, like again, like comparing it to Egghead, like just based on like surface level, the feeling I get when I read it, like it's not hitting the same way. But when you start to like peel back those layers, and you realize like, oh, this is kind of like telling the story that's happening, the things that are happening on Elbaf are like a representation of like what is happening on a global like scale with the Sleep Tids and them, like you just said, like their nightmares being turned against them, their culture, their stories, their like that's theirs, like being turned and weaponized. But I think that's what also is the genius of it is what the Gorosei are, is what the elders are, is what like Doom is like. just the idea that like we already know that the manifestation of desire can exist, and so like are these the manifestations? Like did the people of this world like create and to create the elders? You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of where like my mind goes when I think about it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally see that. I was thinking about how this book, which feels like it's almost like a forbidden grimoire from the Void Century, like magic that existed prior to what we have now. And they always talk about how both technology and magic was so much more powerful 800 years ago.
We talk about technology at the very least, but Haki, we at the very least do have an idea that there was
Haki
more of
as well. We know because he tied it up and infused. And so I was thinking, if it was something like a devil's contract, because they were talking about how devil fruit is born out of a desire, so it felt almost like it could be a devil's contract, like it deals with the primordial force of them, that it holds everybody's desires and needs and wants, and you can pull them out of the book and use them for your own workings. But also, like before, I talked ages ago about how there could be the idea of using all the alternate spaces in One Piece, the door, etc., and how that could be a world in which things are sent to. And then I started to think about that Dami Reversi and how easy it was for them to take people and flip them upside down and backwards and change their being from what they were to a darker version of themselves. And it almost feels like we are living in the Dami Reversi world of what was there before.
See, that I like. Now
if you want some of the coolest crazy Mama Drawk theories, one that I started to come to, the idea of everything being about this alternate dimension, which I've come to more and more seeing as
dimension
like
piece.
The underworld.
I love that.
This world of belief and possibility, which is probably what all the devil fruits, it's where Logias pull matter from, etc. One of the things that she came to was the idea that the Uranus, rather than destroying something, is putting it in that world, and it weirdly enough could explain so many things around the Uranus being so strange. The fact that the holes it leaves stay there, the fact that it seems to lock the area in one moment, that the time of day doesn't shift where it's been fired. Eni's lobby is in eternal sunlight. I was at first when she was going on about that, like, I don't know, but then it starts to just answer so many problems if it does work that way. Like, if it is somehow based off of like a pocket dimensioning something, it can solve a bunch of the weird things, like why doesn't the water fill it up? Why does this time of day stay where it was when it was fired forever?
Yeah, like something happened to send the entire world into this like alternate dimension.
Yeah,
exactly.
I fucking love it.
One Piece makes everyone sound crazy. This is insane.
I love that idea so much because it does work. It's a little silly, sure. It's a little tinfoil, but that's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, that's why it's fun. That's one of the best parts about One Piece. It's like Oda just has the capabilities as a storyteller to just make anything possible, and for it to all make sense. Like, you're theorizing because it could be possible in this world, because anything is possible. I mean, with like dreams and will and devils and demons and angels and like, I mean, anything could exist, and that's why it's so fun to tinfoil all of this shit, because it could be possible.
It's wild to think of Oda's skill as a writer, because like I think a lot of writers could create a world with mysteries this deep, but to balance like the arc of each island, the story arc of each character throughout the series, which are often told through implication of their actions that you have to read into, to track that carefully, to give moments to everybody, to have each chapter have a satisfying flow that leaves you wanting the next one, to have all of the themes of an island and the overall themes of the series complement each other instead of conflict. Like, there's so many bits of carefulness, and assembling all of that together is just crazy, because none of what we're talking about is sacrificing the story at all.
Carefulness for a minute, because I think it's all right in front of us. Like, I think dimension piece is 100% real, but that there's a pocket dimension beneath that, which I think is the soul dimension, the one that I think Odin is going to have to travel to, the one that I think the reverse eye spell goes into, because you've got like Gunko's grimoire obviously goes into a deeper level, but it stores entities and weapons the soul pocket of Big Mom's homies. Where are those soul pockets from? Room in the Opie Opie No Mi by Trafalgar Law. Where does he create that world from? It's dimensions. The mochi fruit. He has a quantity of mochi that comes out of nowhere. He contains volume somewhere that he's pulling from somewhere. The space fruit, the door fruit, the mirror fruit, all of so many of the devil fruit use a dimension, almost like a hidden dimension that they can gain into. And so it feels like the thing that is being hidden is that worlds to either other planets, other places are dimensionally connected, and that he's put those things right out there for them to see, which is why I believe that Odin is going to end up in Elbaf, because it's dimension travel. And then when you think about the way that nobody is allowed to travel the world, and we're talking about it again in Elbaf about how difficult it is, but it's so easy for some people like government officials to travel, I think that's a dimension piece. And so I think that we're going to see Odin pop up because they are going to use dimensions in their travel in order to get where we are. And I think we're going to have a dimension break where we're going to find out a little bit of what's behind the smoke and mirrors.
Okay, so I just had a thought, and I hate this. I hate to be giving you because I'm like, I think you're crazy about this, but I do have to be honest when I have ideas that I think complement what you're saying. Even though I think the Odin thing, I still think is crazy.
That's why I love it.
So
she likes it more.
We know that Shanks needed the dark mark or whatever to be able to travel through the abyss, the underworld, as we're referring to it, the other dimension, which I think is now mostly the network of roots between the two trees. I think likely in the Age of Gods we know about from before all of the murals started. I think spirits was roaming around and that got contained and drunk up by the roots of the big trees. Anyways,
because it is interesting to note too, not to cut you off too, there is mention of like it being a big point, like the interconnectivity of islands is something that was just mentioned in like the most recent chapter. So like drawing attention to that specifically is why I think what you're saying is also very valid.
And that's something my mom has actually been pointing out for a long time, how much the world government controls travel, because what we were noticing reading today's chapter was that the giants were the first entity that allowed for free communication between islands that wasn't facilitated by the world government. That wasn't their reveries, their diplomats being in charge of how people interacted, their news agencies. Like the giants were the only alternative for people to speak to each other other than the world government, which immediately tells you, the connectivity of islands is hugely important. So,
and everyone has some Neptunian creature that just happens to hang out and keep people from traveling off the coast of their island.
So my thinking is, if Emu is the devil, the sea devil, and the dark mark is a thing given by Emu that is needed to travel the abyss, but gives Emu some power over you, and Shanks let his arm be bitten off, we've all assumed, to remove the mark, because that was where the mark was. If all this is true, and we have these constant allusions to the idea that gods and devils are one and the same from a different perspective, then realistically, wouldn't the sun god fruit be inherently capable of traversing the abyss as well? It doesn't need it's not just the world of demons, it's the world of gods, because we're being like I said, we're being beaten over the head with the idea that gods and devils are one and the same, and it's literally just perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. 1,000,000%.
My mind's blown at that, Shanks.
Oh, I know. Yeah, me too, honestly. I brushed past it, but my mind was blown.
Wow.
From you saying that Shanks, that's the reason that he let that arm get bitten off.
I didn't come up with that one. That's one that I've seen floating around. I can't take credit there.
You're taking credit for opening up my brain to that, because I have not heard of that. Yeah, that is awesome.
Well, because they also say, because we caught up, right? Like we read the last couple chapters. We were like week to week, but like I read the last like maybe 3 or 4 chapters like all last night and this morning.
Back to back.
Damn. So it's all super fresh. Yeah, I'm used to. I've gotten used to, I should say, like reading a chapter and then having like a week, sometimes 2 weeks to process that one chapter, and then before getting another one.
But now binging is like so good.
I know it's like,
good for the soul.
But we also do get confirmed is exchange. There's an exchange of lifespan, right? For this contract.
Yes. Classic demon shit, bro.
I mean, classic demon shit. But
like, come on now.
But I there's so many things in Elbaf now that we're on the subject that I want to talk about. Like, what do you guys think? Let me start with I know this is going to take us a bit away from tinfoil piece. Maybe not.
Yeah, no worries. Just go for it, man.
Is it about Elbaf?
It is about Elbaf.
Okay, then
it's about Warhammer 40K. No, just kidding.
Look, I'll answer a 40K question any day of the week. I'll answer wrong most of the time. It's complicated shit, but
we're talking about the lifespan and the deal, and this was something that I thought about when we found out, or got that weird like flashback to young, who we assume is like a young Gunko, or like someone of relation to Gunko with Brook, and like that connection, like. What are Mama Drawk and Drawk? What are your theories on like that connection? Who is Gunko? How
do you think it's as simple as it seems? That I mean, I did. Yeah,
it's so fucking hard. It feels like the obvious is either it's Brook's daughter or Yorki's daughter, and that's how knows Brook. Like, because dad is the word that triggered it. But like the theory that I've seen that I like is, hear me out. This is crazy, but it's. What I like is a theory that you don't need to change anything for it to slot into place. So this isn't mine. This is a theory I've seen from people. The idea being Brook was part of the Royal Navy of his island, not of the Marines, but of his island, that he worked specifically for Yorki, who was royalty of his people. I'm going to look something up.
Well, and because we're talking about lifespan too, why? Because obviously you said the word dad is what triggered it, right? But like the God Knights haven't made that contract necessarily. It's not until they become like elders that they have that exchange. Even then,
and the elders don't pay lifespan. They seem to gain immortality. So what I'm seeing is that I think basically Yorki was a royal. Yorki's daughter got chosen by the God Knights. They were like, this seems like a good vessel, stolen. That's what turned Yorki to being a pirate. And Brook, who was loyal to him as a guard, became a pirate with him. So that's my theory. I could be wrong. It just seems like the thing that slots in most easily, especially because she says, "Are you Brook? Not are you my dad?"
Soul King. Oh well, yeah, I guess, yeah.
But also, if we're doing the math right, because Brook is 108,
she should be older, and I think the ones that he chooses as a vessel, he gains more control over. For instance, taking over her body and killing Saint Saturn, but gives them eternal youth instead. I also, my mom came to a theory. I actually don't remember who proposed this. I think we landed on it together. The idea that all of Vegapunk's, everything Mads invents, because they are basing their research off of a lot of what they discovered in the past. Everything Mads invents is meant to be a hint to something that was done with science in or before the Void Century.
I like that. That makes so much sense.
Leads me to believe that figures like the Elders and Gunko are similar satellites to what Vegapunk invented. Because realistically, the vast majority of things you see Mads invent, we already know a parallel of from or before the Void Century, which I think lets it be an easy way to look for theories, to look at solutions to questions we have that could be solved by something Mads has made.
Mads is recreating scientifically things that have exists like via like magic almost. Like they're
whether magic or just science that appears magic because it's interacting with something we don't understand with the spirit world.
Okay. Interesting. I like that a lot. And I think that's like, again, in my mind, that's true now. That's just 100% canon now.
It's one
in order to put it more tinfoily, I have another idea.
You want to go crazier? Okay.
Yeah, you guys I was about to be like, Mama, what do you
guys are agreeing with us too easily, so we need to be crazier.
No, I think right now this is for our 2-1 crazy, so I can make it crazier. I think that because Brook is quite old, I think that it is possible that Brook was there when Gunko died, and that Gunko has been possessed by Emu because Emu is a sea devil, or the overall devil of this planet, and that Gunko has been possessed but had a life prior to that, and Brook was there to help her pass and die, and she recognizes him because he's a soul person. And I think, to get weirder, that because was it second or third that Luffy said the next thing I need is a musician?
It was immediately after getting Zoro. We just I noticed that when we read
and
Orange
so
Town
I
recently.
think that Brook is going to be one of the things that can be the undoing of Emu, because Emu is going to work in soul contracts, but Brook is the light in the soul, and that because Brook has the ability to manipulate souls, that Brook is a major threat to Emu, and she can feel it because he's uniquely dangerous as being somebody against contracted soul manipulation, and so she has this awareness of him because he's like the anti-curse who could actually depossess her. And I think that she's currently possessed.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, because I have something to add too. I like that a lot, and I have something to add.
Because I can't see that being entirely it though, because he didn't have any greater soul potential until the time skip. So like, he wouldn't have had soul abilities back when.
But music, he was always a musician, and
he was always a musician. Look, I will accept the possibility being wrong. This is another one. I will subscribe to many of your theories. This one I will not because of the evidence.
No, but when did Brook die? When did Brook die?
Brook didn't die until he was a pirate. He wasn't still a member of the.
And I think that when he died, maybe she was on the ship and she was a kid on that ship, and
that would be fucked up, actually.
And died.
I think you're wrong, but that'd be fucked up.
I also do. There are bits of what you're saying, Mama Drawk, that I really, really like, but there's other things that I'm having a hard time seeing.
That's where I'm at.
I guess. But because she does seem to have her own like anonymity to an extent, because she's like listening to the Soul King's music, like she's clearly like she has like different personality once Eam has like taken over her body as a vessel. So that leads me to believe that like at least whoever she was before that is some semblance of like who she really is. And even in that, there are memories that are maybe buried or things that are rising to the surface and are triggered by like dad or whatever. But I do also like what you're saying about him being the perfect adversary to Eam, because music, outside of like him being the Soul King and having these abilities that allow him to manipulate, the souls of people, but just music being a way to like touch, someone's soul, and reach someone's soul and pull someone's like soul out of them. I like that. That's how potentially, he's gonna be able to pull Gunko out of this possession by playing a song. Because she clearly knows his music and connects to his music, so that's how he's going to like save the day, I guess, by like playing.
That would be freaking awesome.
Imagine if she actually was on the ship the way that Shanks was on the ship, the way that Buggy was on the ship.
That would be cool.
I would do some shit like that. I would do some fucked up shit like that.
Because it would annihilate him, so he can't talk about it. So he'll talk about Laboon and losing a small young whale, but he won't talk about the fact that there was this little girl on the ship who died.
Wait a minute.
That would be some Oda level sadness.
I don't think you're correct, but I want to give a way it could be true for sure. If we are correct and Emu is Sea Devil King, rules the stump of the Sun Tree, and because of that can just tap in and control it, in theory, Brook confirmed there is an afterlife, an underworld he had to leave. If that underworld is tapped into, tries to exit through the Sun Tree, Emu would have free reign to pick any soul from that to make a vessel out of. So I will give you, this is possible.
That's why I'm saying it would be possible. And then I'm saying that if she is now possessed, she is in reverse of her own spirit, and that Brook's music, which we already know from Film Red, that music can be used to pull souls through and to trap them or to release them. Maybe Brook's music is the thing that can change her. Okay, I want you to think about the chapter, the arc so far.
Yes.
She hasn't actually hurt the kids.
Oh, yeah, no. I want her to be redeemed, and I want it to be the music. I just don't think she died. I don't think she died. I think she was probably kidnapped, because that's a major theme we've seen with the world nobles, that they just take people they think are useful.
Yeah, and that's
so I'm
fine.
Gonna go for the simpler version.
If I was a sadistic bastard trying to write the saddest story, I would have had her die on the ship.
But it is interesting, and I wish
she was a stowaway.
I would have to think that like Brook thought she died. Like I don't think that she actually died, and Eam has like taken possession of her soul. But because when you mentioned the Laboon thing, like why has Brook never mentioned this person ever? But
he hasn't mentioned anything from his time in the Royal Navy. Like,
and he clearly knows her.
Right, and he clearly knows her like that. Like, I mean, like, unless we're getting really like, because that has to be Brook in a silhouette. Like, there's just unless giving us the biggest red herring of all time.
Or just maybe maybe like it looks like her dad. I mean, I don't know. I
think Oda wouldn't do it like this if it weren't either he knew her dad, or like I think she has to be Yorki's kid or his kid. Like I just think anything else, and it wouldn't be framed this way.
Why she, in my opinion at least, why she can't be Brook's daughter is because not even because he doesn't mention having a daughter at any point or anything like that, because like you said, he never mentions anything from
and that happens in One Piece too, where people are like, oh yeah, that's my dad.
But because we just did that, and we just did it so incredibly well with
That's
like
true.
Kuma and Buggy.
That's
Yeah.
So repeat that same beat.
That would be crazy.
Would be insane.
I've been
it could be
theorizing.
Yorki's daughter then. It could be Yorki's daughter. He could have been, she could have been talking to him, and Yorki could have had to have taken his daughter, and we just don't see the very, very sad backstory, and Yorki is gone. That would kill Cricket. If Yorki is truly actually dead, then
I've also
Cricket
been
dies,
Team
but...
Yorki's secretly alive for a long time, but I thought the man who turned out to be Gabon was Yorki, so now my position's getting less strong. And I will say, Yorki's daughter existing. So one of my big points that I've been putting in favor of Yorki still alive is that we are shown visions specifically in the fight with Black Maria of Saul and Yorki to remind us that they exist. And my opinion was the second we found out Saul was alive, that meant Yorki must be alive, because why else would we be reminded of Yorki? But him having a daughter would actually also satisfy the narrative need to remind us of Yorki. So
yeah,
but it would also make him a Usopp, and we don't like Usopp unless she was on the ship. But like the point is that like he would have just left her in whatever kingdom she was in to become a pirate, theoretically, right? Unless she was on the ship, like a Shanks, like a Buggy.
Well, but that's why I'm thinking she see a flashback of a very young her. I am still on board. I think like I like the idea that she got taken by the world nobles before Yorki became a pirate, whether he was a royal or not, but that's my leaning.
I see. So she was kidnapped before.
If she would be an Alta, like this person points out, kind of weird that we are just like dealing with Alta again right now.
I'm like Shanks' #1 hater, I swear to God. Like I really am. I'm convinced that this man is evil. That's my biggest tinfoil piece, I guess, theory, is that Shanks is going to be evil. I'm sorry. That would be so
I don't think he's going to be evil. I don't think Oda would do that, but hear me out on a reading we've had. Because we for a long time talked about the fact that Oda wants to write about how to best use power. And the way Luffy uses power, the power he has, and the arc that he learned over the course of the Four Emperors saga was, if he's going to be great, people are going to want to bend the knee to him, and it's his responsibility to build up the people around them to make them strong enough to chase their own dreams, to protect themselves. He leaves Wano stronger than it was. He makes Momo stronger. He makes the samurai stronger. He makes Yamato stronger. He strengthens them and lets them carry his will. Shanks sees his role to be strong enough to protect the freedoms of the weak, but doesn't empower them. He lets them be losers. He lets them not fight for their own battles. He just, he's like, true. I'm going to be strong enough to earn your freedom, but he never gives them the ability to fight for their own freedom. His crew are infamously known as weak cowards. They don't believe in anything. They don't have a will. He doesn't trust them to carry his will. He's like, no, I'll be strong enough for you losers, and I'll give you the freedom you deserve, doling it out like a patriarchal figure. And it comes across like, it's good intention,
doling it out like Whitebeard.
It's the same way Whitebeard did, yes.
Like Whitebeard.
Yeah.
Where
Whitebeard is saving him and blah, blah, blah. And on my first read through, it's like, Whitebeard is kind of an ass face. He's that boss. Everything is perfect as long as I'm here, but the minute I'm gone, anyone can take you over because I'm not creating agency within your world.
Fishman Island is fucked the second he dies. His island is fucked the second he dies because he was their only source of strength. Whereas Luffy is like, shape the fuck up, bitch. It's a hard world out there. You better learn to
Luffy doesn't help anyone who doesn't help themselves, which kind of is a god complex, like the Christianity, God helps those who help themselves.
Sun God helps those who help themselves, Shirahoshi.
I mean, I love that. I mean, you're absolutely right. And it wasn't something that that really clicked until you said it, but absolutely. He's created this system that, if, like you said with Whitebeard, the moment that anything happens to Shanks, but I think it's what a lot of people do, like I don't know if Shanks is doing it intentionally or maliciously, I think that's just what he thinks he
it's
has
not malicious,
to do.
but it's meant to be a lesson that is a worse way to use power. That despite the intentions behind the way he uses his power being kind, he's actually not helping these people. He's making them dependent on him. Whereas if Luffy dies, Wano is stronger than it ever was. Fishman Island is stronger than it ever was. Dressrosa doing their best. They're trying. They got Kyros again. That's something. But
I mean, it's his lineage, bro. It's the roots.
He's got the patriarchal vibe.
He really does, and like we're seeing liberation versus like kind of control almost in a way.
But he wants to give them liberty, but the only way he knows how is by fighting for their liberty on his own, by using his strength to earn their right. And realistically, they don't actually end up free because they have to just ride his coattails and sail with him or they're in danger.
There's no
sense given where he's come from.
It's narcissistic. He's a keystone leader. He's the kind of leader, like, the arch is only up as long as he's there. You pull that keystone out and everything falls, which is so narcissistic because it's like, you're great and I'm going to be here and I'm going to be the great big hero and I'll come back and try to bring you money and goods and I will fight people off who come here. But the second I'm gone, if I die, good luck.
It's why now the lesson of the series is going to be teaching us that Luffy's method of leadership is best. But I think it's why everything about the series is building up to the fact that Shanks and Blackbeard need to interact. The reason that is because every scene Shanks is in, usually he's talking about Blackbeard. It's fucking constant. Half the time he's on screen, he's mentioning Blackbeard.
Yeah.
When they're that tied into each other, they can't not meet. And the arch villain of a series can't be beaten by the mentor. That's just not how it works. And I think what we're going to see is, at one point, we're going to have to learn that Luffy's version of leadership is stronger than Blackbeard's. But the series also, if Blackbeard's being built up as the big foil to Luffy, needs to be teaching us that Blackbeard's method of leadership is the second strongest. And why is that? Blackbeard cares about the strength of his followers. He says, be strong for me. He says, get strong, devil fruits, be strong. When you see Shanks' followers, he's like, Shanks, protect us, Captain. When you see Blackbeard's followers, they're like, hey, Garp, I'm going to fucking cut you down because I'm going to prove myself to teach. I ain't letting you get away, motherfucker.
You can almost say that he believes like in them so much that he doesn't have plans. Like he doesn't think things through. He's like, my crew will figure it out. Like
my crew are strong. They'll fuck you up. Okay, his fleet are weak. I know Shanks has a legendary crew, but that's all he's got. Blackbeard has all of these dudes who are constantly vying for power, and Shanks sees him and his core crew as this just protecting force. That's all they are. And
it's because Oda believes in a decentralized power. And so, like, Luffy is clearly the type of person who's decentralized. He empowers people. He gives them agency. He leaves a place stronger than he came to it, which means that his fleet is stronger because they also know Luffy expects us to stand up to the mat and pull our own weight. He can't come back here right away. Will he come back if he can? Sure. But he knows that he left us strong enough to take care of our own shit, which is why Odin decides to stay and travel around. Because I think Oda believes in a decentralized power and that's what freedom is decentralizing power.
Now, so something of note on this as well. This is an observation that I love that we came to. My mom noticed it first, and I couldn't say what I drew from it because it was back in the Sea Train where she notices the second the Straw Hats know that Robin is doing it to save them, that she only betrayed everybody and was evil because she was trying to save them, the Straw Hats got stronger. And what my mom came to is they were tapping into something that was empowering them. And what I figured out in that moment is all power in One Piece draws from Haki, which translates to willpower. The Straw Hats, because they fully trust each other, are literally empowered because they are not just wielding their own strength and the strength of the mentors they represent. They're carrying each other's dreams, each other's wills. When we see them at their strongest, it's because they're believing in Luffy's dream to be Pirate King. And when we see him at his strongest, he's thinking about the countries he's holding the will for. He's thinking of the crews he's holding the will for, his friends he's holding the will for. That literally carrying each other's will is empowering them, is bringing out more Haki. The reason that the second the Straw Hats step onto the Sea Train, they're stronger than when they don't know what's happening is because they have the certainty to carry on Robin's will to live. And I think the lesson we're going to have to see is that, like, Shanks empowers himself by seeing himself as carrying the will of freedom of everyone around him. but he doesn't teach them how to carry his will. He doesn't teach them how to carry the will of the Shanks pirate. He just sees himself as having the responsibility of being strong enough to protect them.
And that is proved in chapter 1152 just recently when dude says to Zoro, I'm feeling tired, you swordsman, you seem to be quite at ease with it. And he's like, I can't use Supreme King Haki. And he goes, what? You don't even know it's out of you? That's unbelievable. Haki power is only useful when it's consciously controlled. But as a group, the Straw Hat Pirates lean into the Haki and almost share it like a pool of fuel. And Luffy has done so much work with his work with Haki that he almost uses and manipulates the stream or river of Zoro's Haki. And Zoro doesn't even know that he is sharing into the power and fuel of it.
You know what?
Which makes sense because one of the times he becomes able to, when he starts using Conquerors against King, was shortly after just saying, like, I made a promise to my best friend not to lose again. Like, he thinks about Luffy and the oaths he sworn to him, and then he needs to make him the Pirate King, and that's where that comes from.
But on the other hand, I'm super excited to see a future of Zoro going through his Haki training because we're about to have.
I just like,
how do you expect to support your captain as an emperor of the sea without knowing that? And I'm like, oh, we're getting montage.
I have a couple things bouncing around. One of them that just popped into my head. Mama Drawk was talking about dimensions. And did you mention even like Bonnie's fruit as well, like the distorted future,
yeah,
like
timelines idea.
Tapping into like these alternate timelines, these maybe potential like alternate dimensions where like.
I mean, we've even seen that bad. What Oda even drawing them as like bad, you know, like Frankie becomes like a full ship, like that's a bad end or like whatever, that's another timeline. Yeah,
that's it. That was one thing. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And the traveling through time, we've seen like. And so if we see them traveling through time all the way like that, then 100%.
The other thing was we were talking about Haki, willpower. Oh yeah, because it's Luffy. The idea of Luffy too. Why it's so fun to me, and why it's so like even just like inspiring is like he'll go to these places. It's almost like this is gonna sound silly, but it's like the Superman comics where like Superman's like fighting all of these, you know, very powerful foes from space or just like other villains with superpowers. But then you get a series called like Superman Walks where he just like goes down the streets. He literally walks around Metropolis and he just like helps someone clean up the back of their closet. Like, and that like has such a power to it. That's like inspiring and so like real. And that's why I love that Luffy goes somewhere and he like.
Well, he makes it personal.
Well, he does. Like when he's thinking about,
personal.
He's not thinking. That's my point, I guess. Is like he's not thinking about like the country of Dressrosa. You know what I mean?
He's thinking about he's
thinking about Rebecca.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like. And he's thinking about like one person, that one.
But it just takes helping that one person to like create that domino effect.
Yeah, and that's why Luffy, because we're just talking about Luffy's leadership and the way that he like empowers people and like how he comes into a place, and it just reminds me of that, and I think that that's so real because it's so easy to generalize and to think about places and people like based on like stereotypes of those places, but like to go meet a person, like a real lived in
talk to a
person from this place. And draw like on that, like the memory of that person, like the idea, the will, the dream of that person. Like it's really powerful. It's
one
really
of my
the only people that could do that. Only people that could do that is like pirates, though. Like you know what I mean? Like that's what's so crazy.
Yeah.
Completely right. And I think we've talked before about how that's that idea of friendship that they talk earlier, how Luffy cares about something the most when it's personalized and it's friendship. And he's like, you can do this to me and you can do that to me, but you can't touch my friends. And so if he personalizes it, it's almost like, and we've said this before, it's almost like when they show one little child starving in somewhere that's having a famine, they don't show all the kids because we can just turn that off and be like, that's too big of a thing to help. But Luffy personalizes it to an individual and suddenly he helps a country.
Meghan said something there that I really like, which is that only a pirate could do it. And it made me realize, because the world government is a lot like Shanks, that they represent this idea of I'll carry your security for you. There is none of that empowering, none of that mutual respect and benefiting that Luffy embodies. It is only someone as free as a pirate.
Hey, YouTube, it's Mama Drawk. You know me from such places as here, and that's it, because you're not hanging out with me, most of you, except for you. Shout out to the couple of kids who know that I'm here and listen to me when they shouldn't. I just wanted to say, yo, what's up? How you doing? What's going on? That's all I wanted to say. Subscribe, press like. You know you liked it, you might as well subscribe. It doesn't hurt you and it helps us. Now look down here. See that second box? These are our guests from Volume 1. Killing it! They came here despite that they're obviously going through a revolution that is destroying their home.
Yeah.
And yet they're still here killing it. And so honestly, subscribe to Volume 1. They're awesome people. If you don't know, they hosted the Reverie this last year. They kick ass. Their theories are amazing, and they bring 100% to everything they do. So subscribe and like us. Subscribe and like Volume 1. You have so many things to like and subscribe to today. Your day is better than ever. I had a person say they no longer make great grilled cheese, and I promise them that will, so I'm going to change it. Now you'll make the best oatmeal in the world if you subscribe and like. The end. Goodbye.
I've been in the world of trying not to just rant about the mural because more has happened in Elbaf, but I think it's been enough, and this keeps boiling in my head. I want to talk about one of my favorite theories I came to from the mural. One of my favorite little observations. I know this is just I keep thinking about it. The big idea I came to was that when we see the relics on the moon, when we see the glyphs on the moon, we see 3 wing shapes, and none of them have black wings. We see the Birkins, the Shandians, and the Skypians. We don't see anything that represents the Lunarians. And the idea I came to was that at the end of the first age, the world became ruled by the Lunarians, having basically seen humanity fucked it up and tried to use the power of the underworld for themselves selfishly. They came, commandeered the world, and when we hear of the forest god, that's the Lunarians. My reasoning being that, in theory, the forest god is who tamed the devils. It makes sense based off of Hebrew mythology that the sun tree Eve is where the fruit of the devil would have come from. We know that the Lunarians lived atop Marijua, which is where the sun tree Eve used to be, because we know its roots are Fishman Island, which is directly beneath. And my idea basically boils down to they became masters of genetic manipulation, which is how they were able to mix science and magic to get devils into devil fruits and dole them out. That they turned themselves into creatures who were able to fly on the blue planet because their wings were only strong enough to fly back on the moon. And when we started to talk about it, there was all of these different realizations we had, that in the myth there was of the oh god, what is it? The Yggdrasil. There are these creatures associated with each level that you can then associate to different species, where if the Lunarians lived in the branches, the trunk could be where the minks were from, because we see on the murals the Mesha, we believe, having been coaxed by Emu into coming to helping Emu get to the top of the sun tree, and then feeling guilty about having done something. Mama came up with the idea that the crime he committed was aiding Emu, and in retribution is helping the minks. The minks then are from the base of the sun tree, because the old text describes deer living at the base of Yggdrasil, but that's not correct, because deer was the Old English word for mammal. It was actually mammals, and non-English speaking countries translated as such and say it was mammals, beasts who lived at the base. The beast people being the minks, who now are on Zhao because Zhao came to the trunk. And then it was sea serpents that lived among the roots, which could be the fishmen. So my idea is the fishmen, the Lunarians, and the minks were all made the way they were by the Lunarians to be able to guard the sun tree at its 3 points, which is why all of them are associated with transformations of white hair and red eyes, as well as an element. Fishmen control water. They have the Tamata whatever box that gives them red eyes and white hair. The minks have control over electricity. They have the transformation under the full moon for red eyes and white hair. And the Lunarians have a flame on their back, control flame, and permanently have the red eyes and white hair. That's my theory of the end of the second world. Jesus Christ, that's a lot to say.
I love Dexter's comment here. Dexter320 said, hits blunt. Yeah, Drawk, totally. I mean, I'm just literally like,
but
open mouth, like yes,
no,
yes,
same.
yes.
And the idea that, because again, like it's so, I think that's the thing sometimes with One Piece is for me personally, I'll speak for myself. Like I can look at something and I can analyze something so much that I kind of don't like zoom out and almost like see the obvious that is slapping me in the face. And when you say that like Zunisha's crime was helping Eam, like that's clearly what is like being depicted in this mural.
It does really look like it.
It really like to
that
me,
one was
like,
my mom's observation. She realized it looked like Emu and it looked like Zunisha, and I went, oh holy fuck! And if the Minks were on the base, that just explains how they arrived on Zoe. If he went up to the trunk of Eve.
Yeah,
sorry for cutting you off. Sorry for cutting you off.
It looks like animals are going on the ship 2 by 2 on the bottom because it's Noah's Ark, so that it makes sense that it's mink.
Yeah, no, 100%, and that's it's amazing that like even looking at it, because I while you're talking about it, like I have it up on the screen and we're looking at it, but like just the idea that like clearly the two halves, because I'm so hyper focused on like, you know, who is this person and what does this represent, and you have this and that, you know, that's a Lunarian and that's a mink and that's a this, but like seeing it just like I said, zoomed out, it very clearly is almost like science and magic, like technology and magic. You know what I mean? Zunisha helping Eam commit this, like the crime is helping Eam get to that point, like them being the only one that put Eam in the position that they're in today. Like Zunisha played like a huge hand in that. Like, I don't want to keep just repeating what you guys said, but my mind was genuinely blown.
And going back over and paraphrasing is how we have new revelations. Like, I think it's fully good to do that, because there's been several times you guys have started going, found a new thought in your own mind, and then that's brought another thought for me. So like, go over whatever you need.
Also, like we were talking a minute ago about how like this hasn't been as great of an arc, and I was thinking about it, and I think the reason I haven't loved it as much is because we haven't been analyzing it with this depth or this much fun or this much goofiness in a long time, because you kind of catch up and you do one chapter at a time or whatever, and it doesn't really let you like dig in that same fun way.
Yeah.
No, not at all. And that's like one of the things I think talking about it week to week, and we definitely felt that as we did start doing week to week after, you know, at the beginning of Egghead, it just like, it's just a different vibe than when we were going through the whole series. Like, I'm sure you guys kind of have that feeling too of like Berserk. Like, it's such a contained series now where you're like meeting the fandom and you're talking about these moments that happened years ago, and same thing with One Piece, and now it's like so current and so new, and you're hearing everyone's thoughts on it, but before you kind of are allowed to like make your own theories or talk about it the way you would like to, or be silly, be goofy. I mean, that's something that we always try to put at the forefront of our conversations, because I think that's like the heart of One Piece.
Well, it's also kind of funny too when you say it like that, because it is, I like the idea that like when you're going back, for us at least, and reading these arcs like after they've been out for years and years and years, like we're hearing the theories that like stood the test of time, right? But I'm sure if you were in it week to week, that there was some crazy things that people have completely forgotten about.
I feel so glad that you and Alexander and my mom all caught up during Egghead, because what it means is you didn't have to be weekly during the long stretch of, no guys, the raid will fail and Zoro will kill Kaido, which was, I think was like how prolific that was, and how much there was people ready to condescend you for not believing those theories. I think there's a reason that people come at theories now with a lot less heat and a lot less confidence than they used to. Because there was a long period of, you took flack if you didn't think the raid would fail. Like, there was like every single week where Grand Line Review would have like a really mundane take on the arc. Half the comments would be like, "Can't believe you didn't mention that the raid will fail."
I'm glad that we missed that. And that's another thing I think like is really, because Mama Drawk is talking about, like it's like being able to talk about it and be silly and be goofy, but also like and theories. It kind of all comes to what I was feeling about like Usopp's role in this arc too, and how everybody's putting all this pressure on him to like have to do all of these things, and like these things are definitely 100% gonna happen.
But it's like that's just not not his character either. Like, and also like they're 100%. Expecting him to change his whole being.
I think he should have to do something cool, but he shouldn't have to be a different guy.
Like, yeah, he's not gonna get this whole giant training montage, like big arc. Like this arc is not just his. And as a matter of fact, I love it now, not just because we're getting things like, you know, Eam and the threats are feeling like on the same level as they were in Egghead, but like one thing that I've noticed in the last couple chapters is that Straw Hats that don't always get that shine are getting that shine. Like Robin's having moment after moment. Brooke is having like awesome moments. Jinbei, Chopper is jumping down to save the bond.
Like, killing it.
Being a doctor, you know, like it's really... Yeah, getting back to that.
I saw a theory that I really like, that Oda, when Frankie's voice actor had to retire, had to reflect on how he'd treated secondary cast, because it really is. You can notice when it started to change and the secondary cast started to get more love. Is almost exactly when Frankie's VA had to retire, and I think it made him think, wow, these people have given their lives to One Piece.
Oh my God, me too.
What have I been giving them?
Because absolutely. Because I said something on a stream, and it was live, so I couldn't take it back, and I didn't say it eloquently. But like what I had said was like essentially that like Zoro and Sanji are cool, but like I've seen all I personally, Josh, need to see. Like, I mean, Zoro is a badass fighter, and I like watching him, fight.
Do the thing.
And Sanji's had 2 backstories, and I've seen it, guys. Like, give me more Jinbei, give me more Brooke, give me more Frankie, give me more like Robin, give me, you know what I mean? And again, it's not the
more.
I was
hoping to say it.
For some Usopp love this chapter. We were all being like, come on, put Usopp in there, give him the big, let him live this big dream that we've been waiting for him to show off. But I didn't expect to be so excited about all the characters who hadn't been given enough attention. Like, when we did that thing about who's great friends and rating the friendships of the Straw Hats, Drawk and I realized that 2 of them had really never actually talked to each other. Like, they would have failed the Bicknell test, but only in like a friendship way. They like never had even a moment together. And I was
who were those 2?
Frankie and Jinbei that we couldn't find us anything for?
Was it Zoro and Jinbei?
No, oh my God, Jinbei had a few, but no, it was Frankie and Sanji. Frankie and Sanji recently have interacted more, but we couldn't think of any interactions between Frankie and Sanji. We couldn't think of a single, like, so much the thumbnail of the video I'll bring up. It was so funny.
I think about that all the time. I'm a big slice of life enjoyer of anime and manga, and I just wish I had more moments of the crew being crews. Just more of them on the ship, more of their interactions. I want to see them eat dinner. I want to see them
I am not
have a conversation. You guys alone, I think, have re-energized, I'm going to speak for myself, but me in this arc. I had such a great time. Everything that we talked about kind of towards the tail end of like kind of feeling a little iffy about this arc, but then like obviously talking to you guys and really diving deep and tinfoiling this shit. Like, it has been so much fun, and I'm so hyped for the next chapter because of this conversation. So that's what I want to say.
Honestly,
I'm going to say dimension piece. Now I'm a believer, and if there's a church or a sign-up sheet or something, a club that I need to go to,
you've no idea how thrilled she is about this.
You have no idea.
She's looking for converts. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time,
squish on squishies.
It's been loving rocking to you.
It's been Drawk Show.
I need a question. It's not going to be the mom. Do people prefer? My thoughts are either Fenrir for the sleep tin, one of the Lokis, or the Nika. Like, what do people think the best sleep?
Are you doing a couple of them?
I'm gonna do one sleep tid, I think, with Cullen, and then maybe some more if I feel like the composition needs.
Because I like the long-fingered weird dude. Ask them what they like.